All right, welcome to the second hour of the Elias Macko Show. Our pleasure to start off this hour with what I hope a good, solid discussion on Bill 21 and the voices that support the bill. Because, I know if you would look at English media as a whole, you would think it is just absolutely 100-0. Everyone hates Bill 21. And then just so often I hear from people, and more often than not, they're women and they're members of the Muslim community, whether they're secular Muslims or cultural Muslims, and they say, Elias, I'm against Bill 21. Now, our next guest, Mandana Javan, joins us in studio. The first time I became familiar with you, Mandana, and thank you for coming in studio.
Thank you for having me.
Was not on Bill 21. It was on the prayer rooms in schools issue. Mm-hmm. Because you were part of the seven, correct me if I'm wrong, it was seven culturally Muslim women that wrote an open letter.
That's it, yeah.
And said, hey, prayer rooms in public schools, it's crazy, and here's why. So that's when you came on my radar.
Oh, yeah. Good. I didn't know.
So obviously now with Bill 21 and the again, another tremendous win for Bill 21 in the courts. I said, let's spend some time in studio because, on the English side, it's never portrayed, even though it's portrayed as the English community, 100-0 hates Bill 21. And I know for a fact it's actually a split decision.
Okay. Yeah.
It's more of a 50-60 maybe against the bill, but it's a split decision. So, Mandana, first off, tell our listeners about yourself. Okay. Tell us about, where you're from, you and your community. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. I would like to start with these three words, which are very, very important for me. Women, life, freedom. And in the memory of all those Mahsa Aminis, women and men who lost their lives and who lost the joy of living because there was no separation of state and religion. Then as an originally Iranian, I was born, in Iran at those days of Islamist revolutionary in Iran. I was raised in a educational system, indoctrinated, forced to put hijab from the age of 6. And to have nightmares because we have been brainwashed. If a man see just one of our hair, we will burn like this and that in hell. It is actually a traumatizing experience for any little girl. But I know that Bill 21 is just a little step. It's a start. And it's not, the point is just try to separate the state from the religious authority.
So you call it a little step. I know people that would call it the most egregious discrimination ever by any government, right? They call Bill 21 discrimination. So what do you say to someone that is so adamant that Bill 21 is some type of discrimination that is unjust?
You see, I can understand from someone who has no knowledge, absolutely no idea what does it mean. I'm talking about Islam because people, they are shocked because of the Muslim women who want to put hijab to go and to teach in schools. Mostly, we know that all this discussions is around this subject, particularly. That's why I'm not talking in general. But you have no idea the philosophy that this symbol communicates. And the huge meaning of this symbol. We need to talk about what insinuating once we are in front of this symbol. Imagine a woman who is the victim of domestic violence. A police officer at the door, and this woman is Muslim. The husband is a conservative Muslim. She calls 911. Police officer is a woman with hijab at the door. This is a very clear message. I'm not talking about the police officer. Maybe she's a Quebecers and 2 weeks ago met a guy and put hijab. I don't know. But this man, this conservative Muslim man, and the wife knows what does it mean when the police officer has hijab. Means that she knows that she has no authority, no power in man. She knows that she's inferior and all those things. Yeah. You know, I'm not going into very fancy
but
kind of...
The example you give, like people don't like to talk about all of the other ways where religion could creep into the state, and you give that perfect example. We always want to talk about the school situation. But, you know, the situation of domestic violence, and what if the officer showing up is wearing a religious symbol that says that domestic violence is actually okay? You know, right?
That's it. Yeah. Because what happens, unfortunately, in Quran, this is a part of Sharia, beating women. Domestic violence is a way of educating women. Then it's very banalized, it's acceptable, it's, you know, then how this police officer is going to exercise her functions, how she's going to exercise her authority toward this man. It's the same for judges. Prosecutor is the same. How these cases can be managed, you know, in front of a man who beat it, and, you know, this is too much information to be communicated with the people when you're at job. You know, in Western culture, in Western values, we know that it's a very intimate information. We don't share it. We tend not to share it with everyone. But if some people, they're eager to share it, because in this communication, in other cultures, in non-Western cultures, we can get some advantage, privilege, social status, more respect, you know. But those cultures, they are not egalitarian cultures, you see. Then I don't see any point. And why I'm telling a small step, I was talking to one of my friends. She has been a police officer in Montreal. Yeah. And she has now she's retired, many years of experience. Martine Focado, she wrote me, she would like to extend it to auditors and collectors of revenue agency, to prison guards, to social workers of DPG, firefighters, and me, myself, I prefer even at the youth center workers. You know, even these people, they are on authority position. You know, and when you are dealing with young youth boys, how you're gonna put and exercise your authority in them?
Why do you think so many people would disagree with you? Why do you think there's so, like what you just said, right? So many people say that's unacceptable. That is discrimination against religion, right? Why do you think that so many people have the exact opposite opinion as you?
Okay, I'm actually, my book will be finished soon. I explain, it's kind of more than 200 pages exactly answering this question in the context of North America, in the context Canadian and Quebecois context on Islamism in Quebec. Because the people who are talking like that has no idea about the differences between Islam and the religion Judeo-Chrétien, you know, Judaism and religions, because maybe 10-15% of Islam is spiritual, is a religion, but 85% of Islam is a constitution, is a political way of a public administration. And for every symbol, there is a there is a significant significant action in a political way to influence others. And hijab is one of them. It's not a question of spirituality, really. You see, because someone who get enough intelligence, enough tools to get judge, to get police officer, to get teacher, they can understand that some behaviors cannot be acceptable at the workplace, and we are living in a society. You know, in a society, I can understand, because these people, they have an argument that this is the liberté.
Freedom of expression?
Freedom of expression, the personal freedom and all this. Yeah. Okay, But the
individual freedoms, as they call it.
That's it. Individual freedoms. But once we put the person in the society, there are other points that can be out.
Continuing our conversation with Mandana Javan, who is in studio with us this morning. Mandana is culturally Muslim, has been one of those vocal advocates for Bill 21. And of course, with the big court ruling and the big win for Bill 21 last week, we've invited Mandana to join us in studio. Now, Mandana, let's talk about your kids. You got two kids, one's 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why you're so passionate about this is that you have seen, even in Quebec, so-called already a laïc secular state, you've seen social pressure on your child in the schools.
Of course.
Tell our listeners about that.
Of course. Even at primary schools, from the first years, it's sure that we have a laïc secular family. And I take, actually, because of all my experience in Iran, I took care to not expose really my son to those kinds of teachings. And once he started the school, he had other Muslim friends at school. And imagine what? One day he arrives and he is like very frustrated that why we are not doing Ramadan, why we are eating bacon, for example. He loved the bacon and he stopped to eating that. He was very shocked why we are not practicing. And it continued with year because he had some friends at school that put pressure on him. And after I was interested to the subject and I did a many interviews with other parents, and I just found out that it's a very common pattern in our secondary school. Even I had some calls from Algerian, Moroccan girls in Montreal that they are living intimidation at a school because they choose to not put hijab, because they want to date a Quebecois guy, a mécréant, They go to eat McDonald's, which is haram. And these things is a lots of pressure on these young adults, on youths in secondary school. And imagine when we are just in Bill 21, we are just talking about hijab in our public schools for teachers. We are not talking about all these issues that exist a lot in our schools. And that's why for me it's very important. Imagine all these teams, the proselytism teams that exist. If they have 1 or 5 or 10 teachers with hijab that are comforting them, that are supporting them, how we can have a secular, how we can have a laïc, how we can have an egalitarian society. That's the point. And
So on the egalitarian society, right?
Yeah.
This is so I find that's because people who are against Bill 21, that's what they'll say. They'll say they're against Bill 21 because they want an egalitarian society because they feel that let's say it's a Muslim woman, or it could it could be a Jewish man with a kippah. That person teaching in an elementary school or secondary school. That if you have that allowed, that's an egalitarian society. And they fail to look, this is the thing that always gets me. They fail to look at how in every other part of society, those same people are absent. And they don't ask the question why. They never ask why that same person that you want so desperately to be able to be a teacher in Quebec, they're not found in so many other professions.
That's it. Yeah.
They don't ask that question.
That's it. Exactly. Now I'm thinking about the, do you remember the Sharkawis? We had an article lately, Sharkawis, who said that all the préposés aux bénéficiaires, a Muslim should not go and work there because it's not a decent work.
Just for our listeners here who don't know about that story, right? So you're talking about Adil Sharkawi, the imam?
Yeah, of course.
So Adil Sharkawi, the imam, has said to followers that Muslim women should not be in roles like a PAB, working in long-term care and seniors care. They should not be doing that.
That's it, because it's not a decent for a Muslim, because in Islamism ideology, Muslims, they are superior. They have been selected by Allah. And the reason of religious, all this religious stuff, symbols, is to affirm, to confirm the superiority. It's actually to get some more social status, privileges, advantages, extra revendication, that comes with. Actually, that's the point. And what is very important, because I have passed my childhood in schools where we had at least between 4 to 5 hours per week Quranic studies. These are young kids' brains are in the hands of our teachers. As a society, can we allow to be indoctrinated with a religion? We have, as Western society, we have no idea about the nature of Islam. There is even journalists, politicians, even in Europe, I don't know, there is no enough knowledge about all the aspects of this religion, the political aspects. Then let play safe.
Can I just throw something at you? More often than not, when I talk to someone who is vocal like you are from the Muslim community, whether it's a secular Muslim or a cultural Muslim, and oftentimes they're Iranian. Okay, and I've just noticed that, but that could be anecdotal evidence. I just wonder, is there extra pressure? Because the Montreal, Quebec Muslim community, Algerians, Tunisians, Moroccans, So are there some parts of the community that they want to speak out, but they are handcuffed, for lack of a better term, that they can't speak out as much as maybe Iranian women can in the city?
Yes, I think absolutely. This is confirmed by my personal experience. I have this feeling, I don't know, but it's my personal experience, that I have this feeling that all this communitarism bonds is much more strong, for example, in Algerian American community, and people prefer to keep their social bondings and relations, even it has to pay with some manifestation, like putting hijab and all those things. And the second point, the big difference is we have to keep in mind that Iranians are Shiite. Shiite is an invention after Sunnite. That's just a political religion.
You're talking about the different types of Islam? Is that what you're talking about?
That's it. Because we have two branch,
Shia
and Sunnis. And historians, they believe, actually, like Hala Wardi, that if Islam never arrived to Iran, which was a big civilization at that time, it couldn't even survive. It was the entrance into that civilization that became tooled and survived and became a big civilization at its turn. I think historically, we don't have the same prejudice, the same roots as Arabophone community. Then we have more tools to speak up, and we have this experience of 45 years of Islamist government, absolutely Islamist. But you see, you look at the other Arab countries, the schools are laïc, which was not the case of us in Iran. And us, Iranian women, the new generation, we have studied in those non-laïc Islamic schools. And we know what does it mean.
Mandana, we have to leave it there. I just want to say it's been a pleasure having you in studio.
Thank you very much.
I know in English media, voices like yours, generally speaking, not heard. So I'm happy that you came on the show this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Mandana Javan, right there.